They say when death comes, it doesn't knock with thunder. It enters like a whisper, and those who hear it first are not the ones dying, but the ones watching closely. Hospice nurses, who walk alongside the dying more than most ever will, have come to see a pattern, not in fear, not in agony, but in stillness, in simplicity, in truth. This speech is not meant to scare you. It is meant to prepare you, to make you aware that life, in all its noise and rush, still ends in the same silence. And if you understand the signs of that silence, you'll begin to understand the value of every breath you take today. The first sign they speak of is a deep, unexplainable tiredness. Not the tiredness of a long day, but the exhaustion of a soul that knows its journey is near the end. Muscles grow heavy, eyes remain closed longer, the body begins to slow, as if it knows it must conserve every drop of energy for the final climb. This is not weakness. This is nature's way of helping a person let go. The dying are not fighting the end. They are returning to it with grace, with surrender. It is a reminder to us all that the strongest act may not be to hold on, but to let go. Then comes the detachment, the withdrawal. You'll notice their words become fewer. Their eyes no longer follow the room. The world, which once was so detailed and urgent, becomes distant. Loved ones may still sit at the bedside, but the one passing sees something else. Some say they are seeing another place, a place we cannot see yet. Whether or not you believe that, what matters is what it teaches us. When we leave, we take nothing with us. No money, no titles, no possessions, just memories, peace, and the weight or lightness of the life we lived. And then comes the most mysterious moment of all, what hospice nurses call the final rally, or surge. It's the calm before the storm, and yet it feels more like the sun just before it sets. The dying person, after days of silence or stillness, may suddenly wake up, talk clearly, smile, laugh, ask for a meal, or say goodbye. It's as if their soul wants one last moment of clarity. It's not a recovery. It's a gift of presence, a gift for those left behind. When you witness this, you'll understand that death is not always a thief. Sometimes it is a generous teacher. The fourth sign is more physical. The breathing changes. Skin grows cooler, especially on the hands and feet. Circulation slows. The rhythm of the body shifts. You can almost feel nature preparing its exit. The body is returning to the earth. And in that process there is no panic, no resistance, just transition. The Stoic accepts this, not because he welcomes death, but because he recognizes it as part of the design. What we fear the most, the body seems to embrace with calm. Finally, the last sign is often a subtle moment, a sigh, a pause, and then stillness. There are no fireworks, no dramatic endings, just peace. The same kind of peace you feel in the early morning fog, or the silence between two waves crashing on the shore. It is in that moment that everything we chase in life, control, success, status, falls away. And what remains is the only thing that ever mattered: how we lived, how we loved, and whether we were truly present in the days we were given. These 5 signs are not meant to haunt you. They are meant to awaken you, to show you that life is precious because it ends, that the final chapter is not just about dying, it's about being reminded to live well before that chapter begins. Today, if you're breathing, you still have time. Time to forgive, time to change, time to be fully alive. Let the signs of the dying teach you the art of living. For those who accept the truth of death with calm, can live every day with unmatched purpose and power. The first sign that hospice nurses consistently witness is a profound and persistent tiredness, that cannot be reversed by rest. It's not the kind of fatigue that follows a long day or sleepless night. It is deeper. It is quiet. It is the body's way of retreating, conserving, and preparing. Muscles feel heavy, limbs barely move, and the eyes, once full of expression, start closing for longer periods. This isn't just a physical tiredness, it's a spiritual withdrawal. It's as if the soul is beginning to unfasten itself from the body, loosening the ties that held it to the world. Words are spoken less. Appetite disappears. Even things that once brought joy now go unnoticed. The dying don't complain, because the tiredness isn't something to fight. It's something to surrender to. It is not defeat. It is alignment. It is nature's way of softening the final blow, easing the person into the transition between life and death. Often, families mistake this weariness for illness worsening or depression. But seasoned hospice workers see it for what it truly is, a signal that the person is nearing the end of their journey. They are not afraid. They are not distressed. In fact, many appear more at peace than they have in years. It's as though the worries of life have finally become too small to matter, and all that's left is rest. This moment teaches us something powerful. The human soul instinctively knows when to begin letting go. In the face of all we try to control in life, this weariness reminds us that one day control will not matter. Goals, ambitions, schedules, all will fade. And what will remain is a soul preparing for its next destination with a calm that only truth can bring. The second sign hospice nurses quietly observe is withdrawal. Not just from people, but from the world itself. It begins slowly. A loved one may stop responding to greetings. Conversations grow shorter or cease altogether. Eyes that once lit up with recognition now seem to gaze past you, not through you, but beyond you. It's not confusion or fear. It's something more profound. It's detachment. This is the soul beginning to loosen its grip on the temporary, beginning to drift from the noise and distractions of the physical world. The person is not being rude. They are not uninterested. They are simply transitioning. The need to participate in small talk, to listen to music, to hear the news, all of it loses meaning. The weight of the physical world begins to lift, and what remains is the internal world, where peace and silence carry more value than conversation. Often families try to re-engage, ask questions, play familiar songs, bring photo albums, but the one dying has already begun to cross a line we cannot follow. This withdrawal is not loneliness. It is not sadness. It is a state of focus, of preparation. The dying begin to turn inward, as if they are listening to something deeper than sound, watching something clearer than sight. It is in this stage that we learn a painful truth we all leave alone. No matter how many stand beside us, the final step is ours alone to take. And that is not something to fear, but to respect. This stage is a gentle teacher for the living. It tells us to cherish our connections now, while they are alive. It reminds us that all attachments will one day loosen, and in that release we may begin to understand what truly holds meaning in a life well lived. The third sign, often misunderstood and rarely anticipated, is what hospice nurses call the surge, or the final burst of energy. After days or even weeks of extreme fatigue, silence, and detachment, the dying person may suddenly appear alert. Their eyes open with clarity. Their voice returns, sometimes stronger than expected. They may ask for food they haven't eaten in days. They may want to sit up, talk, smile, or even laugh. To those watching, it seems like a miracle. Some even believe the person is recovering. Hope rushes in, but those who've witnessed death many times know exactly what it is. This moment is not a return to life. It is a final gift, one last flicker before the flame goes out. The body, in its mysterious design, seems to grant the soul one final moment to say what needs to be said, to offer closure, to leave behind peace. The room fills with emotion, not because of sorrow, but because it feels sacred, like watching someone step out of the shadow just to wave goodbye. It's in this brief window that people often say their final goodbyes, speak clearly to loved ones, or give a last smile that stays with the living for years. For the one dying, it may be the final act of grace. For those watching, it becomes one of the most unforgettable moments in their life. This moment teaches us that life does not always fade into darkness. It often ends in a spark of light. It teaches us not to be fooled by appearances, but to recognize the wisdom in the pattern. And above all, it reminds us to say what needs to be said today, because we never know which conversation will be our last, or which moment will become someone else's memory of us forever. The fourth sign, unmistakable to those who have witnessed it time and again, is the change in breathing and skin tone. The breath of the dying no longer follows the rhythm we know. It becomes irregular, sometimes shallow, other times deep with long pauses between each inhale. What was once automatic and unnoticed now becomes a silent signal that the body is slowing its functions. There may be gurgling, what some call the death rattle, not from pain, but from the body's inability to clear fluids as it once did. This sound can be unsettling to the living, but to the dying it is not distressing. Alongside the breath, the skin begins to cool, especially in the hands and feet. The color shifts, blue or purple in the extremities, paleness in the face. Circulation is decreasing. Blood is moving inward to protect the vital organs in a final act of survival. The body is doing exactly what it was made to do. It is shutting down, but with no panic, no chaos. It is calm, it is quiet, like a candle flickering at the end of its wick. These physical changes are nature's final choreography. And if you pay attention, you'll notice something stranger. There is peace in it. No resistance, no fear, just a still surrender. Hospice nurses don't panic during this phase. They lower their voices, they dim the lights, they prepare the family. Not because death is ugly or terrifying, but because this moment is holy. Watching this teaches us that the body, as magnificent and strong as it is only temporary. It is a vessel, a container, and at the end, even the most powerful vessel knows when to empty itself. This moment is not meant to frighten. It is meant to humble, to remind us that the breath we take for granted today will one day be our last. The fifth sign, often the quietest yet most profound, is the stillness that follows everything else. It comes not with announcement, but with acceptance. After the final breath, there is no grand display, just a deep, complete silence. The chest no longer rises. The eyes, if open, are unfocused. The body, once a vessel of movement and emotion, becomes perfectly still. It is in this moment that everything we've chased in life, fame, wealth, validation, becomes irrelevant. Time stops, not on the clock, but in the heart of everyone present. There is no speech, no explanation, just a presence that vanishes. This stillness is unlike sleep. It is departure. The body remains, but the person is gone. And this final sign teaches us what the others prepare us for. That death is not chaos, but conclusion. It is the full stop at the end of the final sentence. For those witnessing it, there may be tears, silence, or even peace, depending on the life that was lived. But what remains most clear is the contrast between life and its absence. One moment, presence, the next, absence. It makes us question how we spend our hours, what we value, what we fear, and what we waste. In this moment, the truth arrives without words that everything ends, and that fact should not bring sorrow, but urgency. Urgency to forgive, urgency to speak truth, urgency to love, because this stillness awaits us all. And the only thing we can control is what we leave behind in the hearts of those who will one day stand in that stillness for us. The sixth sign is not found in the dying, but in the living who remain. It is the lesson death leaves behind, a quiet echo that lingers after the final breath is taken. Hospice nurses know this better than anyone. Death does not just remove a person. It exposes the truth of how they lived. The room where a person dies becomes a mirror. If they lived with love, peace settles over the space like a soft blanket. If they lived with regret, unspoken words seem to fill the air. The final moments are not just about the body shutting down. They are about the story ending. And the way a story ends reveals the way it was told. This is why the sixth sign is a call for the living to reflect, to examine their own lives. Because when we see someone die, we don't just witness their end, we are forced to confront our own timeline. Most people ignore death until it touches them personally. But once it does, everything shifts. What was important becomes trivial. What was ignored becomes urgent. Time feels shorter. Conversations gain weight. And the idea of living, someday, loses all meaning. This is the ultimate gift the dying unknowingly give us: the clarity to live now, to live honestly, to forgive quickly, to speak what we feel while we still have the voice to do it. You see, death may end a life, but it starts a reckoning. And that reckoning, if we're wise, becomes a rebirth for those of us still breathing. That is the sixth sign, an invitation, not to mourn endlessly, but to awaken, to walk out of the room of death and re-enter life with new eyes. Eyes that see not just the end, but the importance of every single moment before it. In the quiet corridors of hospice care, life whispers its final truths. These 5 signs: deep fatigue, detachment, the final surge, changes in breath and skin, and the sacred stillness, are not just signals of death. They are messages to the living. They tell us that everything we chase, everything we cling to, everything we fear, it all fades. What remains is the peace we carry within and the legacy we leave behind. Death is not the enemy. Fear is. Regret is. Wasted time is. But if we listen to the lessons the dying teach us, without words, without force, we can live differently, more present, more honest, more alive. We must not wait for the hospital bed to teach us what truly matters. We must not wait for the silence to remind us of the value of words. We must not wait for loss to remember to love. The dying are not simply leaving this world. They are offering us a final wisdom. It is now our responsibility to hear it, and to live with the courage, the clarity, and the conviction of those who know how the story ends, but choose to write each chapter with meaning. So, as we close this message, remembers you are still breathing. That means the lesson was not for them. It was for you. Don't just survive. Don't just delay. Live deeply, gratefully. Because the signs of death are not warnings. They are invitations to truly live before your own silence comes.